Welcome back to Word Study. And in this word, might be a little controversial and it may be a little bit hard to accept or understand, but I understand that myself because I've for a long time wanted to know exactly what this was all about. What am I talking about? The Sabbath. That's right, the Sabbath day. What is it? When is it? Is there any relevance for Christians today about the Sabbath? Well, like I said, hold on, sit down, buckle up, because this is going to be a really bumpy ride for some of you. All right, so let's get into it. Let's dive into it. So the Sabbath in Hebrew is called Shabbat. Some of you may have heard that before. And is the Jewish day of rest and celebration that begins on Friday after sunset and ends on the following evening after nightfall. The word Shabbat means he rested or ceased and is associated with God's rest after creating the world in 6 days. Now, Shabbat is composed of 3 Hebrew letters: Shin, Bet, and Tav. So let's take a look at them because, like all the other videos in these word studies, each word has a meaning. Shin, God Almighty or the Gospel. Bet, house or God the Son. Tav, divine ordained time. So let's take those meanings, form a sentence to define the word itself, Sabbath. All right, let's do that now. God Almighty and the Son, divinely ordained period of time. Let me say that again. God Almighty and the Son's divinely ordained period of time. So the Sabbath, with each letter, forms a definition of God and the Son has a divinely ordained period of time. That is the Sabbath. That is the 7th day. The day that God said, I'm done creating. I'm not creating anymore. This is the Sabbath. So it was divinely ordained period of time. Now let's look in Genesis chapter 2. So the creation of the heavens and the earth and everything in them was completed. And on the 7th day, God had finished his work of creation, so he ceased from all his work. And God blessed the 7th day and declared it holy, because it was the day when he ceased from all his work of creation. Did you get all that? So let's go back just a little bit. That was Genesis chapter 2. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 1 in the creation process. God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. Then he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness night. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the first day. So here it is. When was the first day? If you'll notice in the text, what came first? It said evening had passed, morning came. It doesn't say morning and blah 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 and then evening. Nope, it said evening was passing and going into the next day. So the Sabbath started at evening fall and went all the way on to the next day and ends at the next evening fall. It doesn't begin in the daylight. It begins when evening passes. Did you see that? From the very beginning, Genesis chapter 1. So the pattern of the day. Evening was mentioned first, and when it had passed, daylight came, and the new day began. A day of creation started as sundown to sundown. The seventh day started at sundown, finishing the sixth day, and ended at the beginning of the first day, at sundown. So the Hebrew calendar did not have names for each of the days of the week. They just used numbered, day 1, day 2, day 3, just like in Genesis in the story of creation. It doesn't say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It just says day 1, day 2, day 3, and on the seventh day was the Sabbath. The days of the week as we know them came from the Roman Empire during the time of Julian reign, 45 BC, and then was redacted to name the days of the week and the months, forming the Gregorian calendar around 1582 as the calendar we now know today. So the Hebrew calendar was based on solar and lunar cycles. God set this in motion from the beginning of creation for us to know the moeds, or the appointed times, for his divine feasts or celebrations. So he put this in there on purpose so that we could know when to do Yom Kippur, Feast of Tabernacles, Passover, so on and so forth, as we look at those lunar and solar cycles. The Gregorian calendar started as a solar-based system and evolved from a lunar-based system. So it incorporated this, started this into that, and so now you know why the Gregorian calendar as we know it is way off from the Hebrew calendar. So the Roman Empire changed it all. The Roman Empire, just before the time of Jesus, developed and implemented their own calendar. They gave names to each of the days of the week and of each month. They changed the pattern of a day to begin and end as what we now call midnight. 12 o'clock, midnight. That's when they changed it. They changed it from the Hebrew calendar of sundown to sundown. It was also the Roman Empire based it on a pagan system, a pagan calendar. Yes, our Gregorian calendar is based on a pagan system from the Roman Empire. Let me prove it to you. Each day of the week comes from, Sunday comes from the day of the sun. Monday, day of the moon. Tuesday was Mars Day. Wednesday was Mercury Day. Thursday was Jupiter Day. Friday was Venus Day. And Saturday was Saturn Day. So they based it all upon these little g gods for each of these planets and planetary things, and that's what they based the names of each day. So keep the Sabbath. Yeshua, Jesus, kept the Sabbath as well as did his disciples. He told them to teach everything he commanded them, which included keeping the Sabbath. The first century church kept the Sabbath. The new covenant, when Jesus shed his blood and died, buried, rose again, the new covenant didn't change anything about the Sabbath day. The only thing that changed is our opinion and our attitude about it. Whoa, did you hear that? The only thing that changed about the Sabbath is our opinion about it and our attitude about it. The Sabbath has not changed since creation. So why on Sunday? The Roman Catholic Church changed Passover to Easter and made it on Sunday, calling it the first day of the week from the Council of Nicaea in AD 325. This tradition remained, and Christians followed this tradition, calling the Sabbath on Sunday, the first day of the week, or what they call the Lord's Day. They called Sunday the Lord's Day, giving it connection to the Sabbath. but that's not really what God intended from the Hebrew calendar. So, going on about the Sabbath. The Sabbath always begun from sundown of the sixth day and lasted all the way to the first day. The Sabbath has been commanded by God and God has never begun to change it. And what we call the first day of the week, Sunday, God never commanded that. God never ordered that. It's always been on His day, the seventh day. Roman Empire and paganism and Catholic traditions have convinced the world that the Sabbath is on Sunday. Nowhere did Jesus, Yeshua, or Messiah ever say that the Sabbath was on Sunday. He always kept the original, kept it the way it's always been. So the eternal Sabbath. God created the Sabbath to be a model of rest, to enjoy the time and to celebrate the Creator. One day, we will have eternal Sabbath, a day of rest that lasts forever, where we enjoy the time and celebrate our Creator forever. It was a pattern. He created a physical Sabbath, the seventh day, to make it a pattern, to give us a hope, to give us something to long after, that we long after that eternal rest, that eternal Sabbath, that eternal time to be with Him and enjoy Him and celebrate with Him forever. So, that is why it is very, very, very important to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Alright, don't forget to, if you like this, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share it with everyone you know and everyone who needs to hear it. Thank you, and see you next time.